Hey, what's up, everyone? How you guys doing? How you guys doing? How you guys doing? We have a live that I want to get into here. We won't be on here too long, but I do have some thoughts that I would like to go over with you guys here. As it pertains to Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith just made some headlines once again because he did a recent interview. I believe it was with ABC, with Robert Costa. No, CBS News. Sorry, with Robert Costa, where he was giving some of his political views that I that I want you guys to listen to because this was very interesting, and I'm going to play for you guys in a moment here. But let me just frame it for you quickly. So Stephen A. Smith calls himself an independent, as many of you already know. However, he is angling to run for office. I think we did a show about it recently. And if he were to run for office, he would run as a Democrat. Right now, for those of you who have been following the news or who follow the news in general, you pretty much know what a Democratic leader sounds like. You know what a Republican leader sounds like. You have those that are on the far right, those on the far left. You guys you pretty much understand these politicians across the spectrum. But Stephen A. Smith said that he's an independent, and one of my biggest complaints about this guy has been this: that he, in my view, is a grifter. He's a liberal that was trying to tap into the conservative audience to grow his podcast, and now when he had a huge following, he could then feel comfortable to say, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna put out my political bid." So, I want to play some of what Stephen A. Smith said. I'll play it for you, and then we'll react to it. He said a lot. We have a lot of clips that I want to get through here quickly. So let's just get to the first one. This one is on the border crisis and what he would do as president if he were in control of the country. So let's play this one for you here. So this is from Twitter.
About it, we wouldn't have a border crisis under my watch. Hell no. We wouldn't have this crime that exists in the streets of New York. You wouldn't hear about me saying defund the police. We ain't defunding any police. I'm calling 911 when there's a problem. I know you're calling 911 when there's a problem. I'll be damned if I'm going to have less police officers out there. There's going to be more. That's me. I would focus on a flourishing economy and making sure we did everything we could, because I believe when you have something to lose, you know how to behave. When you have something to lose, you know how to behave. If you have nothing, you have nothing to lose. Nothing to lose. And as a result, you're willing to tear down anything, even if it's America, because you feel betrayed by a country that's supposed to be looking out for you and positioning you to thrive instead of wallow in misery and suffering. So, of course, I would pay attention to the economy. I would pay attention to all of those things. Make no mistake about it.
Listen again.
We wouldn't have a border crisis under my watch. Hell no. We wouldn't have this crime that exists in the streets of New York. You wouldn't hear about me saying defund the police. We ain't defunding any police. I'm calling 911 when there's a problem. I know you're calling 911 when there's a problem. I'll be damned if I'm going to have less police officers out there. There's going to be more. That's me. I would focus on a flourishing economy and making sure we did everything we could, because I believe when you have something to lose, you know how to behave. When you have something to lose, you know how to behave. If you have nothing, you have nothing to lose. Nothing to lose. And as a result, you're willing to tear down anything, even if it's America, because you feel betrayed by a country that's supposed to be looking out for you and positioning you to thrive instead of wallow in misery and suffering. So, of course, I would pay attention to the economy. I would pay attention to all of those things. Make no mistake about it.
So
We wouldn't have a border crisis under my watch.
So he's saying that he would add more police officers to keep cities safe. Fine. I think we all like the idea of safety. I think when people talked about the fund of the police, maybe they were talking more about reform instead of the funding. Maybe that's what those people that said that. But anyway, that's not the issue here. He then said, I would focus on the economy. That sounds like a plausible issue because personally, it may not be the most talked about thing in every presidential cycle, but it is the most important thing, the economy. At the end of the day, the thing that's going to cause people to move in one direction or the other, in most cases, is going to be their pocketbooks. Their pocketbooks. So he said that. He said he would focus on a flourishing economy. That sounds well and good. What are his policies? Well, everyone should just get when you have something to lose, we all work together. Whatever that means, some of y'all will explain that to me. But that's just the first clip. Let's get to the next clip. This one is on the is there racism in the United States, and is he afraid if that could play a role in him winning the White House or running for office in general? So let me play this for you here.
Racism if he ran for president? No. I know it exists. I know that you can't escape it, but I do not believe it is as prevalent as some on the left would like us to believe. I do believe a vast majority of Americans judge you on the content of your individual character rather than the color of your skin. I think a lot of people in America, especially in this day and age, now more so than ever before, it's not about race. It's about the fact that they don't give a damn about it because they got their own problems. That's entirely different than believing they are superior to you and they want to hold you back from ascending. That's not what's going on to the degree that it was decades ago. What's going on now is that we have more white Americans and others suffering and worried about the state of our nation. And because they're concerned about that, that's where their worries lie.
Let's listen to that again.
About racism if he ran for president? No. I know it exists. I know that you can't escape it, but I do not believe it is as prevalent as some on the left would like us to believe. I do believe a vast majority of Americans judge you on the content of your individual character rather than the color of your skin. I think a lot of people in America, especially in this day and age, now more so than ever before, it's not about race. It's about the fact that they don't give a damn about it because they got their own problems. That's entirely different than believing they are superior to you and they want to hold you back from ascending. That's not what's going on to the degree that it was decades ago. What's going on now is that we have more white Americans and others suffering and worried about the state of our nation. And because they're concerned about that, that's where their worries lie.
Okay, so let me just give you guys my take on what he just said here. So first of all, does he believe that race will be an issue? No, because there's already been a precedent that we've seen a black person be elected into the office. So we've seen that already. He wouldn't be breaking any ground there. So we have precedent for that, right? So that's the first thing. As in terms of what he brought up to kind of explain his point of view, he was talking about, race doesn't drive issues in the United States. And I would say that maybe not so much in previous election cycles, but in this one, it did. Because my belief is, and I think it's a belief of many, is that yes, the border was an issue. They needed to close the border. I think they also needed to get rid of illegal immigrants that were dangerous and committing crimes. I think all of us would agree with that in unison, that if you have people that are in the United States illegally committing crimes, you should get them the hell out of there. I think most people would agree with that. Most fair-minded people would. However, what you've been witnessing with ICE and the targeting of Hispanic people, there is definitely a racial element in it. There's no question about this. If you look at the Bad Bunny Super Bowl halftime show, there was a racial element in that as well. If you look at the reaction from people like Megyn Kelly and others, that it was definitely prevalent. There are people, you even heard recently, it wasn't a congressman, but it was an elected official that was being questioned about his views about the white replacement theory, where he believes that whites are being replaced. And this was a real thing. I'm sure some of you saw it. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but I saw the video about it where he was being questioned by various lawmakers. And it's a real issue for them. So Stephen A. Smith may not believe it would affect him in terms of him being a black man running for office, but you can see it playing out in the politics that we see on a day-to-day basis. You can see it, right? They definitely they're going after the Hispanic people. So let's get to the next one here. Stephen A. Smith praises President Trump's job at closing down the borders. Liberals aren't going to like this. And I want to play this one here because this is fundamental. The reason this clip is fundamental is because, remember, Stephen A. Smith is a independent, right? He's the only independent that always attacks the left. An independent is someone that has no issue with attacking both sides. I want you guys to keep that in the back of your mind, because if this guy was going to run in a primary, he would have to pick a political party. Fine. If you're going to be a Democrat and you're running as a Democrat, I don't know how this is going to help you gain voters. Let me play the sound for you. You guys will come to your own conclusion on this.
What I'm seeing, but everything that he does is not wrong. The borders needed to be closed. He was right to do that, but only because Biden opened them. Had Biden followed Barack Obama's method and his plan and what he did in deporting even more people than Trump did in his first term, you wouldn't hear me saying that. But when you let anywhere from 12 to 15 million people cross the border illegally, swearing in our face, spitting in our face and telling us it's raining, figuratively speaking, by telling us there was no border crisis when clearly there was, emergency efforts were necessary. Like what I'm seeing, but everything that he does is not wrong. The borders needed to be closed. He was right to do that, but only because Biden opened them.
I want to point something out to you. I'll play it one more time, and I'll give you a practical example of what I'm talking about, where I said Stephen A. Smith is a grifter that plays both sides. In the first part of this sound, it's about a 10 second, I'm going to play it again. He says, I don't like everything the president is doing. In his mind, he just criticized the right. Then he turns around and says, oh, but you can't criticize him for everything that he does. Then he criticizes Biden and says, oh, Biden opened up the border, then gives credit back to the left and says, well, Obama didn't do that. And if he had adopted some of the policies in terms of the border and all of that, we wouldn't. This is what he does. And at the end of this, you end up walking away not understanding what his true position is on issues. This is my problem when you're constantly grifting. And a lot of people express similar sentiments in the comments, which we'll get to momentarily. Let me play it for you guys, and I want you guys to see if you can pick up on what this guy does. He's playing both sides of the political aisle here. He's doing his best to not infuriate Republicans, and at the same time, he's taking little jabs at them, and then he's doing the same thing with Democrats. Watch this again.
Like what I'm seeing, but everything that he does is not wrong. The borders needed to be closed. He was right to do that, but only because Biden opened them. Had Biden followed Barack Obama's method and his plan and what he did in deporting even more people than Trump did in his first term, you wouldn't hear me saying that. But when you let anywhere from 12 to 15 million people cross the border illegally, swearing in our face, spitting in our face and telling us it's raining, figuratively speaking, by telling us there was no border crisis when clearly there was, emergency efforts were necessary. I'm not down with Gavin Newsom.
So that's that clip there. And I'll play the last one here. Let me see this one on closing the border. Okay, so that's the one on him closing the border. Now, I want to get to some of the commentary here, because he's getting a mixed bag of reactions. People are criticizing him and saying, hey, man, you're playing both sides of the issue. Pick a side. You know, the usual stuff that happens with Stephen A. Smith. Look, guys, this is my take on Stephen A. Smith when it comes to his political aspirations. I think that if Stephen A. Smith wants to be serious, I'm not a person to say that you should limit your what is it? You shouldn't aim for your goals. I'm not saying that. But in a time like this, I do think that you should have a little bit of experience. I think a little bit of experience would help. If Stephen A. Smith told me if he was running for, I don't know, mayor or representative or something like that, you can understand that. That way you have a really solid foundation of how the government works. But given the fact that Trump was a businessman, TV personality guy that became president, all of a sudden now it's almost become commonplace where, and it's not the first time this has happened, but I think we also need people that understand government and understand how it works. Because if you're just going in there and trying to wing it, even when Obama, who had some level of experience, I remember when he was running the first time, people were even questioning his experience at the time, and he had some experience. In the case of Stephen A. Smith, I just feel like he has a big platform. He's making a lot of money. The president gave him a shout out. He has a very huge ego, and he feels like, hey, I'm good enough. I think I'm good enough to run for president. Why shouldn't I run? If you listen to this guy talk about these issues, you can clearly see that it's not that he doesn't have a grasp, but you don't understand. I can't understand where he stands on issues. I just can't. I see him speaking with a lot of hyperbole, a lot of generalizations, yes. But in this day and age, I think voters want something. Yes, obviously, we want the slogans like "Make America Great Again" and all people had like that one. Yes, we can, and all. Those are slogans. But at the end of the day, people also want some substance here. And to me, I think the biggest challenge this guy is going to have, and it's sad to say, is having a position on these issues. I think that is his number one. He refuses to take a strong position on these issues. And what ends up happening is you triangulate yourself into a corner where no one likes you. People don't trust you. This is the problem. I'll give you an example. We'll read through some of the comments here. Black people are not voting for you, and white people too racist to vote for you. So, where does that leave us? Let's move to the next one. Here's another comment. Bro always talks Republican, then fence sits when it comes time to take a Republican stance. That pretty much summarizes it. Look, this channel that we've started, we've lost a few hundred subscribers on my Dreamers Pro, my sports channel, but I don't care. The reason I don't care is that I can't come up here grifting or giving half-ass positions and takes and expect to grow an audience. I learned rather quickly that in order for you to gain a foothold in this space, you have to take a position on these issues. You just have to. And it's up to people whether or not they're going to. No, the thing is, if I decided I was going to be a Republican, people are not going to like me. If I decided I'm going to have be a liberal, rather, people still won't like you. Other people. So you can't please everyone, and I think that's the issue that he's having. Again, you listen to the border, his comment on the border, you can see him here playing both sides. Let me play for you again.
The borders needed to be closed. He was right to do that, but only because Biden opened them. Had Biden followed Barack Obama's method and his plan and what he did in deporting even more people.
Can I ask you a question? Is Joe Biden in office? Is Joe Biden in office? What does the president has his own policies? He wanted the border closed. Talk about that. Biden, are we going to be talking about Joe Biden 3 years from now? Are we still going to be talking about Joe Biden 3 years from now? Why, instead of bringing in Biden and Obama and Trump, just say what you think. What do you think? They're not asking you to defend the president. What do you think? Charles, take the MAGA cash. He said, take the MAGA cash. Well, there are a lot of guys making money out here that are MAGA content creators. I'll tell you that. There are a lot of guys making a lot of money out here as MAGA. Look, I would be MAGA if I truly believe. The thing is, if I was a MAGA, I would do it, but I just don't believe it. If I believed it, I would say I am. If I fundamentally and really believed it, I would say that I am. I have no problem with that. And before I started this channel, me and my father, who's heavily into politics, at one point he almost ran for governor, not in the States, obviously. And we used to go back and forth on these issues. Back and forth, argument. And he's a contrarian. So you can imagine how annoying that is. And there were times when I think it was the president's what was it? The I forgot what it was. Trump did something. I'm like, well, that's kind of reasonable. And we went back and forth. So I thought about it. I have no problem with taking a position on anything. I'm not afraid to do it. And if you're a Trump supporter, I'm not saying you should be one or the other. I'm not. But if you support him, it's your bloody right to support whoever the hell you want to support. That's just my take on it. Let me go through some of the comments here. It says, Stephen A. Smith speaks empty words. Another guy said, or person said, he's an island boy. Another person said, maybe Stephen A. Smith is an independent. He's an independent. He says he's a registered independent. My problem is that's not going to work in a general election. That's not going to work. It's just not going to work. Now, independents are important in terms of getting their votes because they generally decide elections. It's important from that standpoint. But the majority of the voters are either on the left or on the right. So you're going to need to pick a side. And then it depends on how you can reach out to them based on the issues and, things that could appeal to. You guys know this. All the way up to the leading up to the week before the election, there were still some people that were undecided, and it was something that frustrated a lot of people. So saying you're an independent doesn't work. Are you going to who's the last candidate that won as an independent? Who? It's almost never going to happen. You can say, oh, I'm a moderate, I'm center right, center left, whatever. You can do that, but to say you're an independent sounds like someone, and like you got to take if you're serious about winning, it's not going to work. If you're an independent as a voter, that's something different. There's some people that vote one way, vote various ways depending on who's running for office. Some people vote Republican this cycle. There are Republicans that didn't vote for Trump this cycle, but did that voted Republican in the past. And then you have Republicans that vote every cycle red. You have Democrats that vote every cycle blue. It depends. Somebody said you sound young and dumb. I'm just trying to figure out, what do I sound young and dumb about? I would like you to be a little bit more specific. He said, well, you are an idiot. Can you guys give me some specifics, please? I understand I'm an idiot and all of this. Can you just specify what makes me an idiot? I know you disagree with me ideologically, but what makes me an idiot specifically? I'm going to surmise that you're going to have a very difficult time explaining that. What makes me an idiot? Let's see if you can actually explain that. Because my guess is you can't even articulate that. I think that you reached for the most primitive response you could find, which was, I don't like what this guy is saying, so let me just insult him because I don't have anything else more sensible to say. So I'm an idiot based on what, please? And I like to interact with people in the comments. So what am I an idiot? What am I an idiot on? I spoke policy, goofy. Name a policy that the Dems have that helped the. Are you high this evening? When the election was, when both candidates Kamala and Trump are running, didn't you read the bill about Kamala's proposal to fix the housing crisis? First-time buyers? You didn't read anything about that? You didn't read anything about her foreign policy issues? We did shows on this. Say you weren't here. Oh, he's not talking to me? I thought he was talking to me. I thought he was talking to me. So people are insulting themselves in the comment section. That's always good. So yeah, that's what Stephen A. Smith said. I'll play some more of his clips for you here. I thought he was talking to me. I wasn't sure. Let me read this here.
Make no mistake about it. We wouldn't have a border crisis under my watch. Hell no. We wouldn't have this crime that exists in the streets of New York. You wouldn't hear about me saying defund the police. We ain't defunding any police. I'm calling 911 when there's a problem. I know you're calling 911 when there's a problem. I'll be damned if I'm going to have less police officers out there. There's going to be more. That's me. I would focus on a flourishing economy and making sure we did everything we could, because I believe when you have something to lose, you know how to behave. When you have something to lose, you know how to behave. If you have nothing, you have nothing to lose. And as a result, you're willing to tear down anything, even if it's America, because you feel betrayed by a country that's supposed to be looking out for you and positioning you to thrive instead of wallow in misery and suffering. So, of course, I would pay attention to the economy. I would pay attention to all of those things. Make no mistake about it. We wouldn't.
So you heard what he had to say there. Well, if Stephen A. Smith is actually going to run for office, I think that he would have to just be a little bit more specific with his policies. So, someone said Kamala had no policies, right? So policies. Oh my God, I don't know why people think people don't read. I'm just confused. Okay, so they had no policies, right? This article was published September the 12th, 2024 from the BBC. All right, they had no policies. All right, Lord help us all. Here you go. Taxes, right? I'm not going to read through all of this because you're the one that's saying they had no policies. You can read through it here. There are a bunch of articles. You have Trump, you have Harris. Abortion, you can see Trump and Harris. Immigration, you can see Trump and Harris. Foreign policy, man, don't waste my time with these silly comments. It really annoys me. It's insulting because it's making it seem like as if you're saying I'm not doing my research, and when I do it. Now, if you're asking me to list off every single policy that they propose, I don't remember all of them. Maybe you do. I don't know how much they're going to pay you tomorrow. I don't know how many cookies they're going to give you in school when you go to school tomorrow that you remember all of their policies. I read all of this before. Okay? Before I made my decision for who I voted for, I read that. So for you to say that Kamala had no policies makes me think you're not a serious person. How can you say a person running for office has no policies? Say you don't like her policies, but to say that she had no policies is absurd. Anyway, guys, you heard it here. So Stephen A. Smith is looking to run for office here. So you guys will let me know what you think about his stance on. I mean, the thing is right here. You guys can just read. I mean, it was all over the internet. You could just read it. You can go to their websites when they were running. It was there. He said Kamala got stomped on for a reason. Well, I think the people that voted against her, I think they're having their wake up call. Look, beyond the border, right? Beyond the border, which is one of the key issues that the president ran on. How has your life gotten better? If you voted for Trump, how has your life improved? How? Or rather, how do you think the lives of everyday Americans have improved? Let's put the question that way. How do you think the lives of everyday Americans have improved? Have you been paying attention to anything that's going on? Do you know what the sentiment is out there as it pertains to, for example, to the economy? Do you know that the president is underwater in all of the key demographic voting blocks? Are you aware of this? Even independents feel like they're worse off. Inflation is pretty much the same as it was when Biden left office. Utility bills are going through the roof. Healthcare premiums are going through the roof. What do you mean? You can't be serious beyond the fact that, okay, I like that my candidate won. I think beyond the excitement of that and the euphoria you feel, how has your life improved? How? You're living in, for example, I don't know, Alabama, and you're watching raids go down in Minneapolis, and they're rounding up people in Minneapolis, and somehow that's having an effect on what's happening in your day to day life. Are you being serious, or is it just the thing of, oh, I'm winning, we're winning? Is that what it boils down to? Just to be able to walk outside and say we're winning? Is that how you're winning? Trump is what America needs, then that's fine. No one is saying that you can't have, if you have an opinion, if you have a vote, no one is saying you can't vote for him. Vote for who you want. No one is stopping you from that. Charles, I told people that you use their spiritual eyes and listen to God. Please call me crazy. I don't know what that means. No tax on tips, overtime, an on old age social security. All right. I think that's pretty much yeah. Anyway, guys, appreciate you guys for being a part of the live. You pretty much heard everything that was said there. Don't forget to leave your comments and thoughts in the comment section, and we'll catch you on the next live that we do, whenever that's going to be. You guys have a good one. Peace.